Good morning, students. Welcome to your first class of communicative English. When you hear this term, you might ask a question if it's really an important area to study, to really learn some skills. Is there something to really learn? Is it something important? Is it worth the time that we are supposed to put into it? And when we read the name communicative English, the name of the subject, it's actually made of two words, communicative and English. Communicative comes from the word communication, and communication is something that we do naturally. Okay, without even learning a language, we can communicate without even sound. We can communicate. So communication can be done in a lot of things, and naturally, over the years we have grown up, we've learned all these things. The second word is English. So undoubtedly, we are probably trying to study how to communicate well in a language which is English. So here, people might think that, if somebody has been studying English since his childhood, he or she might be naturally well and a little bit better at communicating in English language. Okay, than somebody who probably does not have had such kind of an exposure since a very early age. Um, so people might think that again, like, it probably undermines the importance of the subject that we are going to study, and one might have some apprehension that, oh well, this language is probably not very suitable for us, and we probably might never be as good as somebody else, in this language. So what is the use of studying? So to answer these questions, to quell uh, the questions arising in your mind, the apprehensions arising in your mind, I would try to show you that so we'll soon see and we'll soon discover that communication is probably the more important thing to do here, because we are learning communication because this communicative English, because this language and the skills that we learn for effective communication will be of great use when we are employed and when we are supposed to work in an environment where they have certain beliefs and certain behaviors and some certain culture, okay, which we probably have to understand because we have to work, we have to function there. We'll talk about the difference in culture, or the minor shifts in the way we behave, and how that becomes apparent, in the same state, in the same uh, culture or community, and in the same place, in the same time. Okay, how we can actually adapt, or we actually do all the time automatically. We'll just see through this example. Uh, well, when we are at home with our parents, we speak in a different language, we behave in a different way. Okay, our ways, our system, our manners are different from our manners when we step into our schools, for example. So we dress differently, we speak, we address people, differently. Even the words that we call out to our superiors, for example, in your locality, you probably would call somebody elder to you as bhaiya or dada, but in your school, or in your college, or even in your office, when you actually go into a corporate, you would see that the culture is different. Okay? They speak differently, they dress differently, and they might also use the language which is different. Maybe the use of the language English is a little more than what you generally use in your house, or in your locality, in your surroundings. But the fact remains that the language is a part which we cannot really shake off us. Okay? Which means is that because we all belong to the same area and the same cultural background to a very large extent, to this extent that we all speak the same languages, okay, from the places where you come. So it happens that uh, a very large population knows other languages as well, and they feel comfortable in communicating in those languages when the need arises. And even for the effective communication, for the use of right expressions, I think people interchangeably use different languages if they have in common all these languages. For example, in Delhi, you would actually see that this is really a very normal phenomenon, where in an office you'll see people from all states, all languages, all areas, from the country. And if we focus on, for example, South Indians, ठीक है, तो South Indians do not really know Hindi, and the North Indians, for example, people living in Delhi, they do not know the southern states' languages. So mostly they speak in English. I mean, when they communicate, anyone from any other place, for example, in the north of India, in Delhi, if they're communicating, they use English, with a southern inhabitant. But let's take the case of a Bengali, for example. So, to a Bengali, a lot of time it happens that a North Indian can speak to a Bengali employer, ठीक है, maybe a senior or a subordinate, in two or three languages. Everybody knows something or the other about, or some or the other phrases from Bengali. Maybe you've watched some movies, and through that, it has come to our notice, to everybody's notice. Some words, some phrases which we can use, and we can even to like people from Kerala or people from Andhra and Tamil Nadu, you would probably use some phrases, but it is quite possible that at times you might end up using phrases which are actually derogatory and not in very good, um, not in a very good stead, for them or towards them. So we have to be mindful of those things. But let me come back to this thing that we were talking about. We're talking about languages, in how different languages we can speak, and the complete and holistic and absolutely precise, grammatically precise use of any single language is not so necessary, is not so uh, uh, okay. So we're trying to say that the absolute uh, knowledge of any single language is not so important, or at least if you're talking about English at this point of time, we probably do not need to be grammar Nazis, when we are learning communication, because we understand that we can use different languages interchangeably, and we are in a setting where people already know different languages, and uh, we need to learn communication, and English is probably secondary to the fact that we have to learn communication. So now these are the questions, the first two questions that were probably formed, the part of communication that we do naturally, the second part being a different language, a foreign language, which we probably would not be ever very good at. So I'm trying to demystify, the haze around uh, the subject. Some people might think that it is a very difficult subject. Some people might think that this subject is probably not even needed. So to derive to a conclusion, uh, okay, so it's quite easy. I mean, both of the things, it's quite in our grasp. Okay, if we can probably look it in this manner, or let's suppose communication is something that we know, English is something that we can probably understand, or we can probably get hold of. So what is the difficult part? What do we have to learn? What do we have to understand? Um, what remains? What is lacking? What lacks? What else do I need? To communicate. If this is the question that comes to your mind, okay, this is where our conclusion is derived, and. We can absolutely communicate. We can communicate in any language. We can probably communicate in English. We can communicate. We know how to communicate. There are 10,000 things, 10,000 ways that we can communicate. Okay, but here again, there are a lot of questions that can come. Okay. So when it comes to the rules of, or let's say grammar, that we use in English, the rules that bind us and make us sure that we use correct language, that is something that we keep it. For example, keep it as box A, and the part of communication. Okay, let's consider this to be part B, or the box B. So we are compartmentalizing uh, the things that are important at the art of communication, and the things that we are going to deal in detail. So will the very first box is English literature language, and this is something that we'll probably touch last. And the reason behind is that it is a very time consuming process. It's a long process, it's a long drawn process. I will first have to uh, make you how to use it, how to actually hone it, how to use that knowledge that's there in the books, or probably on the internet, everywhere that you read something, to read, or what's written. Okay, the language, or how it's done. You have to read a lot, probably. I would probably suggest reading newspapers and reading magazines and reading everything that interests you. Read extensively on all topics that you find interesting. Reading is the most important thing. It's almost like some poet has said, or somebody wanted to be a poet, so he went to a poet who was much more famous and respected and revered, and he asked him how to be a poet. So he told him that it's a very easy way, and it's a very easy thing to do, and you do not need to work hard. You just go and read anything and everything that you can. Not anything, but I'm sure read everything. Read every great poem that that has ever been written. And once you're done, probably after reading 10,000 poems, probably your mind will automatically start producing poems, and you would start writing poems, and the more you practice, the better you become. So this is also a very valid way, and this is probably the only sure way to improve in the language English. If you want to read a lot of literature, read analytical things, read business reviews, read a lot. That will give you knowledge as well, apart from the language that you're reading. So box A, literature. The second box is the first box is language. Language means the literature, and even the grammar, the linguistics. Okay, the second part is about communication. So communication happens between, for example, two people, or two instruments, two systems, two nations. So there are two things, at least there are at least two things, and the communication has to be done between them, right? I mean, this is probably, when we come down to the structure of what we are trying to understand, what we are trying to read, I think this is it, isn't it? There are two things, there are two systems, and they need to communicate. Now they both could be alien to each other. If they are not alien, they are at least not completely similar. So there has to be something, some difference. That is the reason why they want to communicate, right? Like charge, okay, only when there is a potential, when there is a difference of potential, will the charge flow, will current flow. So there are two systems. They speak differently, they think differently, they want different things, but they have to communicate, and only then they can probably ask for what they want, or convey, whatever it's there in their mind. So now we look at the systems, or we look at the apparatus, the things that are present. Okay, let's first consider there is one planet on the left side, there's one planet on the right side, and there's something that needs to be connected, like something needs to be transferred. So in a very normal way, you must have read in computer education books that data or a message needs to be first encoded by system A, then transferred through some medium, and the third stage is the reception, and again the decoding of the message. So now there are a lot of things that they are involved right now. The system A, the system B, communication. So communication, how communication can be done? Probably you write, probably you speak, okay, probably you sing, you show a movie, you make a painting, or or you code it, or you probably do face gestures, okay. So there can be 10,000 of things, or probably you make something out of your hand, maybe a mud pot, or you make a ship, or maybe a bird from a newspaper, and you keep it somewhere, okay, for somebody special, or somebody particular to see it, and if it has a meaning, even that conveys a message, and even that's communication. So communication can be done in myriad ways, in thousands of ways. So the medium is something that we again have to understand, we have to learn. It's a very integral, it's a very important way. Okay, that is the reason why we'll probably learn about how to write a letter, how to post a notice, or how to write short messages. Yes, official messages, official letters, or for example, reports. How do we construct a report? How do we send a mail? And all these platforms, or all these systems are different. All these structures are different, and we use them differently. And it's not very difficult to conceive that, because you can see that when you have a mail, when you have a laptop, take it's a big space, you can probably write faster, and you can write a lot of things. It can be a detailed thing, but when you send a message, you're using a phone, and it's a small screen that you have. It's also a small area that you can write into, and a message cannot have, for example, a certain number of characters and more than that. So whatever you're going to speak, you're probably going to speak in a different manner. Okay, you're probably going to use different sentences, or you're going to construct your sentences differently, or you might use abbreviations, you might use different words altogether, you might use different languages and different words from different languages in your SMS, for example, to make it shorter, which could also probably show that it's not a very formal method of communication. It's not very formal. It won't be probably accepted as as an application for something. It's not formal enough. So depending on what platform, what background, what context, and what exactly are we trying to do, depends the platform, the structure that we use, and every different structure has different use. It will be used differently. So we have to understand everything. So let's get back to the components of the communication medium that we were talking about. So we probably have to understand the intricacies of our facial expressions, the things that we are speaking, what to speak, how to speak, when we are speaking, when we are talking to people, when we are shouting, when we are talking to people, somebody close to us or somebody from far away, or probably when we are speaking on the microphone, or like a politician from a stage. How do we speak? What language? What pitch happens to be the best one for us to use? Everything differs. Everything there's a certain fit, or let's say that they always exist a better way to do things, and one of those ways is probably the best. So depending on there will be so many different aspects, because this is the only first diversity of possibilities that we're discussing of the medium right now. And will soon realize that all these three systems need to be similarly uh, oriented, or probably set up in the message ought to be set up, or the whole system of communication, they ought to be set up in certain way that it becomes effective, which means that we need to understand the communication platform, the structure, we need to understand the medium, we need to understand box A and box B. Here I'm talking about two planets. Oh, I was talking about planets, planet A and planet B. We need to understand planet A, we need to understand planet B, we need to understand what they're trying to say, we need to help them form their communications, or whatever they're going to speak, or whatever they're going to write, in a certain manner, depending on what medium they're using. And then the medium also has to be right, everything has to be right. So there are so many components, okay, where we have to uh, make sure that the right fit, or the best fit can be aggregated, can be got together for it to become a great anything: speech, communication, pitch, a letter, an article, a video, a movie, anything that you are probably producing, or if you're communicating, if you're even saying, that becomes very effective when we are certain about so many factors which are myriad, which can be anything, and are different everywhere, everything, all these components are different. So people are different, culture are different, what they think of a certain sound, or a gesture is different. Take it, the way they behave is different, the way they eat is different, and the communication platforms that they can use, or let's say um the medium, the communication medium, that they can use, quite a bit different. For example, uh, old people in India, they still have a value for letters, and they would probably like to have letters, like to be sent letters, or communicated in letters. That's the best. That's the closest that you can get to their hearts, because that would make them feel very special. That's something of a complete rarity now. Nobody sends letters these days. So probably if I am trying to make my grandmom feel very special, on her birthday, on her 85th birthday, I'll send her a letter, or maybe a card in the mail, so that a postman comes home to deliver the letter, and which will be very special to her. So now this strategy could be completely different for somebody who is from um, your age, for example. A letter might mean nothing at all, would have no emotional value for it, because uh, that's a grandiose picture, that's a feeling of nostalgia that you have, because it was there earlier and you used to have it, but now it's just not present, so you miss it, and the value of it is larger than the value of for you it might have, for you it might not be so valuable. So thousands of things which are different, thousands of myriad diversities I'm talking about. It's almost like the world. You look at the world as, let's say, you look at the sea, for example, as chaos. If you do not know the sea, if you do not know a jungle might look to you as complete chaos. But if you know the patterns of animal behavior, if you know which plants offer what benefits, and how can you use the terrain and the ecosystem for your own survival, and if you can live, if you know that you can also live in that jungle, or in that sea, you can survive. How? So, from all the different myriad things, you pick up things which suit your requirements, and you use it. Uh, you use it in a manner which is beneficial for your requirements, and that's how we can survive, or we can be successful, right? So the same laws, we'll soon see that will apply to these aspects. So now we talked about the medium, the communication, the medium of communication, and now we'll look at the fact that there are two people. There were two planets, but now there are two people, let's say, and they both need to communicate. Well, let's forget the fact that they both need to forget. We'll remember the fact that I need to communicate. I need to communicate well because I have some need, and my need needs to be fulfilled. I need to make the exact right representation of what I'm trying to show it to them, and that needs to be done right. We're going to an office and we are going for a presentation to our client meeting. We need to present. Now we need to speak the right things. We need to show the right things. We need to have a perfect. We don't need to have a perfect behavior, but we need to have the right behavior that is expected there, and I should know what impression would it make for it to be a good presentation, and for it to have such an impression on him that he agrees to our offers, and he becomes our client, he takes our offerings, and he becomes our customer. So for all these things I need to be aware. What do I need to be aware of? I need to be aware of B, point B, the person B. I need to be aware of myself as well. See, I need to be aware of the fact that if I'm speaking, or if I'm presenting, or if I'm say holding a pen, and if I'm using the pen's direction, or I'm using, or I'm using some gesture, doing some gesture with my hands, or if I'm holding the pen, what effect will it have? What impression will it make on the person who's sitting in front of me, looking at me, my presentation, my hand gestures, and the pen as well? So he's looking at everything. He's looking at me because I'm there in front of a whiteboard and I'm displaying something. I'm trying to speak something. Uh, so we come to the concept of something which I call the inside and the outside. We need to know, we need to learn about us and about the universe, about everything and anything that is outside. In between, we need to learn about human psychology, human behavior as well. We need to learn about cultural diversities and sensibilities, which could be within a country and which could be outside one's country. So there are thousands and thousands of variables that we have to learn, and but everything, but and how do we learn that? How do we learn everything that's there in the world? How do we learn everything about everything that's there in the world? So the fact is that I'll probably quote something. I heard somewhere that I hear everywhere. People generally say, "Oh, I'm different. Oh, I'm different. I'm the best, or I'm the worst, or I'm different. Oh, I'm like this. I'm like that. Everybody's like this. I'm like this, or I'm like that." So there could be a concept that people are different. Everybody is different. We do say that genetically we are different, behaviorally we are different. Everyone is very different, completely different. Nobody is same. Nobody is similar, right? But there's one more thought. There's one more philosophy, and it says that everybody is same. Everybody is similar, and everybody acts similarly. Everybody behaves similarly, and so people generally can be categorized as belonging to be this sort of person, or that sort of a person, with this sort of a background, or that sort of a profession, and they can be predicted. Their behaviors can be predicted. So it depends on you don't no it does depends on nothing. I'm not trying to say that it depends on you, that what philosophy do you believe in, but what I'm probably trying to say that everything that you've heard is probably true to a certain extent, and everything that you've heard could be false to a certain extent. So the possibility is something that we have to focus on, and we have to probably believe in both the things at different places. And when it's a time for us to analyze something, to predict something, we can use certain skills, some generalizing skills. But when we have to differentiate somebody particular and act accordingly in that manner, then we can use our discretion and we can use our insight into the intricacies of personal uh, differences or peculiarities, and which will help us delivering a very good communication or establishing a very good communication, conveying what we want to convey. Sometimes there's certain things that I want to convey out of behaving bad or communicating bad, which means that you might think that it's a completely worthless whatever. For example, I spoke to somebody, and then if there's a third person analyzing my talk, my communication, he or she might think that it was a complete waste. Whatever like the person was trying to convey, like I was absolutely not able to understand it, and it was simply a failure. Whatever he was trying to say, I could not understand it, could not think it, could not could not really feel it, could not really believe or feel the understand the gravity of the situation, for example. So a completely failed case of communication can be exactly what I want, or what I want to display, or what I want to show, or what I want to put up there for my ends to be met, for my goals to be met. Uh, and this is a very usual thing that people do, feign. They feign the knowledge of something, or the natural expression, for example, what could have generally been expected. They feign it. They people even lie at times. So what I'm trying to say is that it it is almost like magic. It is almost like magic, where sometimes to disappear something would be magical, and while on the other hand, to make something appear would also be magical. Or if this was not a very good example, we'll simplify what we're trying to say, and we can say that if my ends meet, and let's believe, or let's suppose that all the things that we need, or our ends are, or our goals are all ethical. So other people's behavior can be modulated through these skills, for example, and things can be handled in certain manner, either with people, or in a place where the people are not there. And communication skills, different skills, some mental skills, some understanding, some insight into the psychology of people, and to a certain extent, in fact to a large extent, the knowledge of oneself in the manner that when I'm speaking, and when I'm trying to say a certain thing, or in a certain manner, using either a loud voice or a subdued tone, maybe a fast pitch or a very slow pitch, pace, speed, or can be can offer us such control, or such possibility of the outcome to be in our favor, that it can almost be powerful for people who are good at communication, and who are good at interacting with the people around, that they rise up. I'm sure that they would rise up in their careers, or in their social hierarchies, or yes, the respect that they get from society in all ethical and in all good ways. Let's hope. This is what we should be talking about. To use all the good skills, to use all the skills in a good manner. It's almost like when I was a child, we used to have debates on the topic if science is good or science is bad, if science is good or it's evil. And we often used to come to the conclusion, or this was probably fed to us, that how you use a certain skill or science will depend will the I'm sorry what outcomes do come from your scientific endeavors would largely depend on what intentions did you have, and all evil might come out of evil endeavors and evil goals, and all the good things will come out from the same things. So science could be like a machine which, or let's say a knife. A knife could be a useful tool, but a knife could also kill life. So that's how and that's how uh, you'll soon come to realize that's how powerful could be these skills of intrapersonal relations. So absolutely, I mean, in a professional arena, it would be of great use. It would be of great use where there's a huge competition, and you would probably see that every day is a new race, and you would see that the work never ends, and it'll almost be like a perpetual running for achievement, and seemingly achievable achievement that you always look forward to, and you're always running towards it, the next goal, the next stage, the next promotion, for example. So this inside and outside, we're trying to discuss, we're trying to understand what we mean by outside, and it was the other person, it was the world, it was everything that we believe in, which everybody else believes in, the things that we see, what reality is to us, and the way we see what is in front of us. When you see a tree, what emotion do you have towards a tree? When you see a tower of some telephone company, some telecom company, what emotion do you have? How do you see that? How do you take as? One might have different feelings towards it. One might look at a tree as something which is of some use. Somebody might look at a tree and would have a feeling to cut it down and use the wood because it's thick enough and it's of good properties, and to use it. Some other people would look for the fruits, that the tree could bear. Some people would look for shade. A tree might mean different things for different people, and it could be predicted as well, because in two very easy ways. I am talking about one person from city, one person from village, and one person from I think this is fine. One person from village and one person from city. Now the city person can be of two types only, mostly. The first could be that he's very nostalgic about the fact that when he was a child, he had great trees in his courtyard or in his grandfather's courtyard, which does not have access to, and so he misses trees, and he probably would like to hang around trees. He comes back to his village. He loves the fact that there's a tree. So this tree has a greater value than its wood or its shade or its fruits to this person, for example. While on the other hand, it's very possible that there's one person who's a businessman, he lives in the city, he does not care about trees, never had such personal connection, emotional connection to the tree, and comes down to a village or looks at a tree, and the very first thing is that he probably wants to cut it down to make use of the tree. Now, villager. Again, a villager could be somebody who's connected to the to his livelihood, and a tree, for example, is very beneficial for him because his goats eat the dry leaves that fall off the tree. While on the other hand, there could be a farmer as well who hates the fact that there is a tree, and he also wants to cut down the tree because the space that gets uh, get you know that the space that the tree, for example, occupies not just the area of the trunk or the roots, but also the whole area of its branches hanging out and its leaves on the ground. And it could be, and a farmer could use probably this space to grow some crop which he sells in the market, and gets money out of it. So there's so many different things, right? So I'll come to the point. What exactly we are going to learn. What we are going to learn is uh, the world that we live in, not just the world everywhere the way it is, but the corporate world. Why in corporate world things happen, and why are we supposed to behave in a certain manner if we have to, and what philosophy does run in their brains, in their veins. Why do they behave like that? What are the things that they believe in? What are the things that they believe in? This is a very important question. What are their goals? What are their ways to see everything? If we see resources, how do they see them? Okay, what philosophy do they believe in? How exactly are they going towards it? What structures do they work into? And even the financial structure, and all other philosophies, there has to be something that we know about them. There has to be something that we more than that we already see, that we already know, that's already there, that's already general place knowledge. There has to be something more about them that we need to know to understand even us and everything, the world, the system, the way governments function, for example. Why do what's everything? Why do we have to work hard when we go to an organization? Why governments are different? Government organizations are different from private organizations. What is the probably difference between working in America and working in India, or working in China, any other southeastern country? How do you think it's working different, in Japan? And why is it like that? What are the philosophy that they believe in? And what are those common systems? How they are different and how they are similar? What are those systems that they all follow? Um how does business function? What are stock markets? What happens when people are taking too much of loans? Is it good to work in banks? Is it great to work in technology? Which technology should we work into? um, what kind of businesses can we get into as entrepreneurs if we want to? How to be an entrepreneur? Absolutely all aspects where communication, you can almost say that the answer to everything, or most of the things, can be derived out of some models that we are going to read or understand. And these models could be very rudimentary. These ideas could be very rudimentary, very basic. Okay, but the way we see things and the way our perspectives can be opened or can be broadened would be a fantastic thing that will come to across in our lectures, where we look at everything, where we even look at how how some knowledge of all the things that we talked about right now here, either either revealing them or either or hiding them would result into what outcome that you want, even out of for example an interview, a job interview, or a group discussion, or if publicly speaking, if you speaking publicly, if you're speaking somewhere, okay, what are the things to say, how to say, okay, if there's a point that you want to make, how to exactly make that point smartly. uh, you know, there will be a lot of things that will explore as we move forward towards our lectures. There's a very interesting thing that I read somewhere, and it was probably about a character uh, who did speak, who had roles, who had dialogues, who would speak, but whatever he spoke would almost make no usable revelations. It was almost like if he said something, it would probably make the whole matter more mystical and more elusive than actually making it easier for anyone to understand. Somebody whose style of speaking uh, rather hides than reveal something. Okay, he's speaking, but rather than revealing things or things getting revealed, he has a style of, or he has a way of speaking which almost hides the things that he wants to, and he's using communication, he's using information, knowledge, language in such highly creative ways, highly dexterous ways that simply fulfills his goals. And we all suppose that everybody's goals are ethical and all in good faith. So these are the things that we are going to look into, and certain strategies, certain information, knowledge is huge, knowledge is very powerful. um, just if I have the right information of any person, any country, any nation, any company, if I have the right information, I can hugely benefit out of it in many ways, financially or politically, and I can mend my communication, or I can I can modulate every aspect of my communication in certain manner, which I know will have a certain effect on the person in front of me. Some examples for you to think on, to contemplate on. When you see a car, for example, when you see a Fortuner, what do you think of the person that's riding in it? Is it different from the impression that you have of a person driving uh, an accent, or any other car, any other luxury saloon, if you talk about? Uh, yeah, Honda City. So do you think the car makes a difference, in the perception of the person who knows nothing about you, and the only thing he has seen on the road right now for the very first time is your car and you driving in it? Okay, maybe the way you dress, the way you look, the way your facial hair has been done, would reveal a lot of things apart from that, but just the car would have some effect. People will place you in a certain strata of society, or they would place you as a certain person. Fortuner generally, people think are a neta, could be a politician, or a contractor, or corporate, something like that. When you see a Mahindra Thar, you know that this person could be a great adventurer, and might be going on hills or sand dunes for travels, and that is the reason why he has a Mahindra Thar. So in our classes, what we are going to do is that we are going to cover absolutely everything that's there in our syllabus, but we're not going to do things in a very expected manner. We're not going to take up skills For example, writing skills, speaking skills. Okay, talking about you know, taking small examples and learning them. We won't be doing things, you know, we won't be picking up a book and discussing things out of a book, but we'll cover all the aspects, you know, in our syllabus in the most creative and in the most imaginative manner that we can, by drawing inferences and by picking up examples from a myriad of different areas which are very relevant, which are completely relevant, you know, for our future career. Because why are we studying? I think we are studying here, you all are here because you want education, but more than education, I know that you all want the degree. Matlab, I'm sure nobody will reject having a degree and would only want to have education. I'm sure that after education you would want to have your degrees as well, because that would be important. Why would that be important? Because on the basis of that you would get employment, and I think employment is the most, I mean, that's needed. I mean, don't you think that, you know, you all are here because you can, because with education you would probably find employment that's suitable to your aspirations, and you all want to do well in life, not just socially, but even not just academically, not just socially, but also financially and career wise. So we'll take up examples from corporate world. We'll take up examples which absolutely and completely and most probably even directly affects or will affect our lives, our future careers, you know, will affect a lot. So all relevant things, you know, we are going to pick up from a lot of different areas, and we'll have assignments, we'll have case studies, we'll have some presentations as well. We used to have a huge part of it used to go towards presentations, you know, in our previous classes. If just we had the usual scheme of classes and not online presentations, soon you in the colleges, in the classrooms, you could have been like wearing suits and wearing ties and giving presentations as a group, working on some ideas or some topics, you know, doing things, becoming an entrepreneur, proposing a certain or making certain presentations of reports. You could be doing all those activities because we used to do all those things, you know, earlier. Um, but we'll try to do, you know, the maximum that we can even on the online mode. And apart from all these things, apart from all the writing activities, all the reading activities, all other activities of speaking and presentations, there are 2 or 3 classes that I'll take, which you might think uh, that is probably not in our course, absolutely connected, absolutely very integral to understanding everything that we are going to talk about. But you might think that it is not absolutely in the syllabus. So these 2 classes, I'll call them uh, as informations or knowledges or theories that we are going to explore from outside the world. Now, any theory, even you can probably propose and that we can discuss. But from my side, there is some theory that we are going to discuss, which would not be from uh, the organizational behavior that you're going to expect in your offices. That will not be from the syllabus. That will be not from literature. And I cannot really call it to be from mathematical area or financial or economic subject as well, because whatever aspect that we're going to touch will be very practical, will be very basic, fundamental, and absolutely nobody would require any special knowledge for that. But to have some interest in that, because it affects our lives and the way we live and the way we function so much, that is almost as important. So two classes, which I'll take uh, on theories, on certain theories that I would want to introduce you to, and all other classes and all other aspects and all the boxes that we have made, we'll try to follow that. And I'm sure that the learning or the few ideas that I probably implant in you uh, will be of great benefit, for the forever, because we keep learning, because we keep learning all the time, forever we keep learning every time. Um and in the next class, or maybe later classes, we'll discuss something about a phrase called the remarkable man. So what is a remarkable man, we'll probably discuss later. So I'm ending the first class. I'll see you on the next class, where we touch the very first class, that of out of two classes that I'm talking about, the very first class that I'm going to touch on some theories that we are going to talk about. So see you in the next class. Thank you so much. Have a good day.